When it came to releasing an Angry Birds game on consoles, what should it be? A brand new game? Too much work. A re-release of an old game, maybe the first one? Nah, that seems too simple. How about a collection of the first 3 games in the series, a trilogy if you will. This is the story of Angry Birds Trilogy. Hello everybody, and welcome to a much shorter entry in my series of ranking every Angry Birds game. Next on our list of games was Star Wars, but then I remembered Bad Piggies came out before then, and now I find out Angry Birds Trilogy released 2 days before Bad Piggies, which is nuts. I could have just stuck the review of this game in the Bad Piggies video, but I don't want to force people to watch an entire other game get reviewed that they don't care about in a Bad Piggies video. So instead, I'm posting them separate. That video should come out tomorrow though, so be pumped for that. Anyways, the reason this video can be shorter is because Angry Birds Trilogy features 3 games we've already extensively covered. If you want a more thorough look at any of these games, or haven't seen those videos in a while, then make sure to watch those first. The history of Angry Birds Trilogy is pretty short and sweet. Angry Birds is huge. People wanted to play them on consoles, so Rio teamed up with Activision to release the game on all current platforms at the time. Angry Birds Trilogy released on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and the 3DS on September 25th, 2012. About a year later, they made a Wii and Wii U version too, and a few months after that, it even ended up on the PlayStation Vita. No matter what you played games on, Angry Birds was going to be available. In this video, we'll go over some of the gameplay differences between versions of the game, because for some reason, the game had big differences depending on your console of choice. I need to note that I own the 3DS version only, and 100% of the footage I show in this video is from others on YouTube. I'll put the links in the description and their names on screen when using their clips. With all that out of the way, let's start with what was included in this game. The first 3 Angry Birds games are, of course, Angry Birds Classic, Angry Birds Seasons, and Angry Birds Rio. It's still crazy to me that Rio is in this pack and not Space. Rio was the 3rd game in the series, but it's a branded game. Rio had to put Fox and Blue Sky's logo in the opening credits because of this. It's a big deal Rio is here is all I'm saying. And while it sort of stands out, it is the greatest Angry Birds game of all time, so it's sort of the selling point of the package, don't you think? Now, before you say, wow, why the hell would you play on your phone ever again? I could get these full 3 games on my Xbox? You need to remember that this game costs $40 on home consoles and $30 on handheld, did not feature any sort of new content, and are almost demo versions of their full releases. Angry Birds Classic only included Poached Eggs, Mighty Hoax, Danger Above, The Big Setup, Ham 'em High, and Mine and Dine. If you bought the DLC for this game, you could also play the Bird Day, Surf and Turf, and Bad Piggies level packs. Oh, and if you're curious, the first DLC released 3 measly months after its initial launch. In Angry Birds Seasons, you had Trick or Treat, Season's Greetings, Hogs and Kisses, Go Green, Get Lucky, Easter Eggs, Summer Picnic, and Moon Festival, with the DLC including Halloween, Wreck the Halls, Year of the Dragon, Cherry Blossom, Piglantis, Back to School, Haunted Hogs, and Winter Wonderham. And in Rio, it was just the main 6 levels: Smuggler's Den, Jungle Escape, Beach Volley, Carnival Upheaval, Airfield Chase, and Smuggler's Plain, with no DLC level packs, and the Golden Egg levels for each game respectively. That is undeniably a lot of Angry Birds still, but nowhere near full versions of any of the games. Some of my favorite packs in Angry Birds Classic, like Short Fuse, aren't included. Seasons had more than double the levels here, even with all that DLC, and Rio basically had an entire other game you'd be missing out on. And the best part is, each of these games individually on mobile could be played for free, or could be bought in full for the price of 1 DLC pack. Playing Angry Birds on your console meant spending 10 times as much money for less content. Let's just keep that in mind for when we rank this at the end. Power-ups weren't included, maybe because there aren't any in-app purchases here, or maybe they just didn't want them here, who knows. We still got the Mighty Eagle though. The way it works on 3DS feels really janky and not quite right, but it looks fine pretty much everywhere else. So what could you get here that you couldn't get anywhere else? Well, there is a level pack called Bonus Levels, which of course isn't even available on the 3DS one. And honestly, I can't remember if these are from the original games or completely new, so if you know, please tell me in the comments. Either way, there's only 6 to 7 levels for each of the games, but hey, 19 bonus levels ain't bad at all. There were little bird biographies for each of the flock members, except the coolest ones, Hal, Bubbles, and Stella, but they're in those classic comic book art styles and are a fun extra. And my favorite thing from this game, the animated cutscenes. In that classic cinematic trailer and early Toons episode art style, each cutscene in Angry Birds Classic is actually a cutscene for the first time. They're all pretty straightforward, and we only got them for 6 episodes, but this one scene from the big setup where Terrence shoved a wood block down King Pig's throat might honestly be worth the $40 price tag. I really wish they did something like this for Seasons and Rio though. They deserve cutscenes too. And well, that's about all the new content. So let's move to the gameplay across each version. I just recently bought a used 3DS, so I also went ahead and bought a used copy of this game. I only spent $10 on it, and that feels like a pretty decent price for this game, I'd say. Whoever owned the game before played like an hour worth of this game, so I don't know what happens when you start it for the first time. The menus are interactive in this version, and you launch birds at the levels rather than just selecting them. When you do something new, a piece of wood goes and hits this little bird in the cage. From what I've read, apparently it's for the Street Pass features in this game. Street Pass was a big reason to get it on 3DS, but it doesn't work anymore, so I was surprised to see it actually did make use of the 3D function. The backgrounds appear far away and a few objects on the menu pop in super close. But the game just sort of looks better in 2D, so one of the big things I wasn't sure I'd like is controlling the slingshot with a joystick. The games were made for touchscreens, and what do you know? The 3DS has a touchscreen, but my touchscreen is a little janky and doesn't always register when I tap and hold on the screen, so let's talk a bit more about the controls. Like I said, Angry Birds was made for you to pull a slingshot back on a touchscreen. What is it like controlling it with a joystick? It definitely takes some getting used to, but it's honestly not as bad as I'd assumed it would be. I still feel like it's easier to identify the angle you're shooting at when you control it with a touchscreen, but that could totally just be in my head. I have been playing Angry Birds like that my whole life. While the graphics are worse on the 3DS, I'd say another selling point of the game on other consoles is the better graphics. It's not that different, but the animated backgrounds and stuff are just nice looking. The effect they put on the bird sort of looks weird to me, but again, I'm used to it not looking like that, so it could totally just be in my head. If I haven't made it clear yet, the 3DS has got to be one of the worst versions of the game. The only thing that has going for it is the 3D function and the unique menus. It looks worse. Like, I'm happy to include the cutscenes, but I like to watch them at a higher quality than 480p. It doesn't include the DLC or bonus levels, so even less content than the mobile versions had. And the fact that these console versions have a freaking built-in retry button that couldn't possibly be on the 3DS version is just infuriating. It takes way too long to go into the menu, press retry, and get a loading screen. I generally have never noticed that Angry Birds games typically don't have loading screens, and it makes it so much more frustrating to replay levels with them, even if it is just a 2-second delay. There's more than just this, but I honestly don't feel like getting into it any further. These are the biggest takeaways from it anyways. On the Wii, or if you owned an Xbox Kinect or PlayStation Move, you could play Angry Birds with motion controls. I don't know how that would feel, but I can only imagine it would make the game more frustrating. Maybe it's great though, let me know if you tried it. Other than the Wii, every version had the normal controls though, which are fine, just take some getting used to. The PlayStation Vita is basically a big phone with buttons, so probably the closest to the classics. But quite possibly the greatest way to experience this game is on the Wii U. It has all the DLC included, the graphics are HD, or at least better than Wii and 3DS, and you can use all 3 gameplay methods, motion controls, touchscreen, and joystick. You can choose your preferred way to play, and even just try each one if you're curious. Before we rank this game, I'd like to ask all my dedicated Angry Birds viewers a question. This video will have a small view count, meaning everyone listening right now actually watched my videos. The question is, would you buy a Stinky Steve plushie? I want to make this very badly, but it is quite expensive to do so. 300 people would need to actually buy a Stinky Steve plushie if it's going to happen at all. I do not care about making a profit on this plush. I'd make it $15 to $20 if I'm allowed to, so it's as cheap as I can make it for all of you to spend your money on. Tell me in the comments if you would buy it, and tell me if you would not too. I need to know before making it, otherwise it will not happen at all. Thank you all for listening and leaving your comments. And let's finish this video, shall we? Look, at the end of the day, Angry Birds was made for mobile devices, and without adding all the content from the original versions of these games, Angry Birds Trilogy feels more like a gimmick than anything. It's cool to have these games on console, especially if you prefer to play them with the new controls featured. It's just sad that 3 of the best Angry Birds games in the series, 3 games that are all in S tier on my tier list, combined to make for a pretty mediocre compilation for consoles that cost more than 10 times of the original versions combined. However, the best levels in all these games are the earliest levels, so you are getting the greatest levels regardless. Angry Birds Trilogy is a fine game in theory, but if we're being honest, I think I'd have to give it a B tier. And yes, the tier list doesn't look quite right because for dumb reasons I won't bore you with, I can't edit the actual files at this time. After the Bad Piggies video, when I rank these Star Wars games, I'll fix it. Anyways, do you agree with my ranking? Which version of the game did you have, if any at all? And how do you think this game could have been handled better? Let me know. Without my members and patrons, this series would not exist. It very well may not exist in the future without the support for it. So if you'd like to see me keep covering each of these games, please consider supporting me. And this is very sad to say, but I actually think our very first member of the channel, Leland, is no longer supporting me. It had to happen eventually, but you know, it's still a sad day. That means we have a new person starting off this member section though, so thank you to Patrick Byersean, Bright Streak, Dojo Master, Keep, Gall Guy, Jep the Legend, Cheaper Ying, Test Monkey, Marie, Callum Ford, Perskill Banner, Checky, Mr. Odell, Timor Kurnov, Aaron the Ghoul, Freakish Smile, Border to Bordo, Pika Girl for You, Miku, Geminot, Lewis, MD Switchy, Omegon, Christa Creations, Jonathan Biscoff, Lavatane, Alex Yusuf, OK Isabella, Skibbity, and McCrazy, who's actually been a long-time viewer and comments a lot, so thank you very much for becoming a member. If all goes according to plan, I'll see you tomorrow for the Bad Piggies video. It's a Christmas miracle! Genuinely though, people don't upload much towards the end of the year, so take this as a gift from me to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you then. Goodbye. Now before you say, wow, why the hell would you play on your phone? Now before you say, wow, why the hell would you play on your phone ever again? Now before you say, wow, why the hell would I play this? Now before you say, wow, why the hell would I play this?